I'm ready to start working on the carving for the pulpit. And there's 3 letters, IHS, inside the cross, and that's going to get gold leaf. So I've got some, what they call, I believe it's called composition gold leaf. It's not really gold, but it looks gold. And what I'll do is I'll put some sizing in here. It's like a glue, and let it dry till it's just barely tacky, and then lay the gold in there and press that on down with a brush, and then just let that dry for like a day. And then once that's all dry, I can clean off the excess gold, and what should remain is just what's in the letters, pretty much wherever you put the glue sizing. So I've got a thin little brush, and I've mixed up this glue sizing nicely, and now I'm just going to very carefully just coat the carving. Okay, I let the size dry for, I don't know, 45, 50 minutes. It's got a little bit of a tack to it. So, I'm going to take this layer of gold. Stuff is super thin. I might need to use 2 tweezers. I think I read somewhere that if you stacked 10,000 of these things together, they're the thickness of a dime. I don't know if that's true or not, but it really is thin. So I'm just going to lay it over there. And then I just got to start figuring out where there's one. And with a paintbrush, so you just got to keep working at it. Try to get it all covered. Well, here's the result of the gold leafing. It's not too bad considering I've never done this before, other than a test piece. But there's a couple places where, and you can't hardly see it, but I can, where it needs a little bit more gold leaf. So I've put a little piece of tape by all those places. I'll just put a little sizing on those little places, and then just put a little gold leaf in there to stick. And when that's all done, the final thing I do is to spray this with lacquer to protect this and prevent it from oxidizing. Also, I just wanted to point out that I'm doing some painting. I'm working on the elk here. I put a little light brown here, just a little different tone than the cherry on the elk. And then in the elks, they have a dark neck and head area and legs. So I tone that down a little more. So I'll just go around and do a little bit of that. Probably put a little green on the trees here. Maybe a little snow, I'm not sure. I might just leave it at the trees and not worry about snow on the mountains. We'll see. I wanted to give the rays of the sun a little more accent, make them stand out a little bit, a little more zing. So I experimented with using a little strip of gold leaf on one of the rays. It's hard for you to see because the clamp's in the way, but it's just a thin, it's about 40% of the width of the ray itself, centered right along the top. So I've applied some masking tape on the 3 more of the rays, there's 7 total, to mask where I put the sizing, and it gives me a nice straight line. Makes it a lot easier than to just apply the gold leaf on there. So we'll do that and see if we can kind of make the rays kind of stand out a little bit. Well, you just saw me cutting these signs. This is to go on the front of the pulpit. The part that holds the book, you know, it's got that front piece that's just big and it just needs something. So I made up a couple of signs, but from a distance, these letters don't really stand out. So I've mixed up a little bit of acrylic paint with a matte base. And what I want to do is I want to paint in the carving part and keep the surface here just the cherry. So these have been spray lacquered with a couple coats so that the paint won't tend to, get into the cherry too much. And I've experimented on a couple of little nameplates that are going inside. This top nameplate has the paint in the carving. The bottom does not have that yet. These little nameplates simply, they're going to be kind of hidden. They're going to be deep inside the altar and the pulpit. But they have my logo, and they show the finish, which for the carcass is shellac and the carvings is lacquer with acrylic glaze, and the year 2021. Because I figure these are the three pieces of information someone's going to want to know in 50, 75, 100 years. All right, so that letter kind of stands out a little bit. I think that'll help. All right, so here you can see the little platform I made to hold the book. And I didn't record the making of this because it's really just a very simple piece. It's just plywood with veneer on it. I glued a little lip here so you could hold the book. That's cherry. I put it on hinges so you can lift up, and I don't know, the pastor might be able to put his microphone or whatever inside this little space. And it's screwed in place so it can be removed. Matter of fact, the way I designed this is the top can be removed, the bottom can be removed, and that book holder can be removed. And that way, when it comes time to refinish, it's a whole lot easier for the refinisher. Well, you can see how the carving worked out. I think this is just held on with one screw right now, but you know, I've got the elk very visible. I made a lot of little flowers in the prairie. When you step back a ways, you can't see all the different colors, but when you're close up, you can see that. And I put the gold on the sun. You saw me doing that. So I think I'm probably about where I want to be with this carving. I might put a little snow on the mountains, but I'm thinking probably not. We'll make this a summertime scene where, you know, in the low foothills, you don't see any snow. After looking at this top piece a while, I wasn't happy with the way I had veneered it. I used flat sawn veneer horizontally, kind of like the real boards would make if you had made this thing out of solid wood. Whereas the bottom, we have vertical quarter sawn veneer. So I still had enough scraps of vertical quarter sawn veneer left over that I could use my iron-on technique to iron on a sheet on the front and the two sides, and I like that a whole lot better. And because these signs, we talked about these signs a little bit and decided we really wanted something else to be able to put there. You know, sometimes the signs would be appropriate, but for other parts of the worship, you know, other things would be appropriate. So I decided to make the front emblems here detachable by I mounted two rare earth magnets into holes that I countersunk into this plywood. And they're countersunk enough where little washers, steel washers, mounted on the back of this, in this case the sign, would fit right into those recesses. And all you got to do is be good enough to line this up. Get that lined up, it fits right in there. And when you want to change out, take a credit card, just pry this off. And in this case, I made the triqueta, which is the Trinity sign that we used on the altar. And it can go in there. Snaps right in there. And there you go. So for various seasons on the church calendar, you know, if I needed to, I could carve other things to go on there. It really makes it much more flexible. It's good to go. Time to deliver it to the church. Thanks for watching.